the prediction is that by 2030, almost half of women, 45%, aged 25 to 44, will be single by 2030. It's so clear to me that so many more women are choosing to remain single or just choosing to opt out of dating relationships for a variety of reasons, not least because I think so many men. Sorry, Mr. Producer. Sorry, Jamie. I think a lot of women are finding men quite disappointing. And obviously, let me just say off the bat, I'm not talking about all men, but a certain type of guy who seems to show up quite a lot on online dating apps, from what I've been told. They're just not bringing the value that women desire. And the truth is that for the first time, really, in history, in relatively recent years, women for the first time they don't need a man anymore. They don't need to marry for money or anything else. Women can provide for themselves. They can create full, fabulous lives by themselves. So unless someone is actually providing value and making your life better, I think women are just thinking, well, why would I? Why would I go there? So that's partly why it doesn't surprise me, that statistic. But on the other hand, it's pretty wow. It's bonkers, isn't it? Nearly 50%. And that age bracket, 25 to 54. I mean, that's the core age that we'd expect people to be getting married and having kids.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And we see the birth rate stats as well.
Yeah.
So
this is the whole thing.
It's that age, isn't it? That's literally the age.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, let's roll backwards.
Okay.
Because this has set the scene a little bit. And we'll get into a bit of your story in a minute. But just going backwards I want to talk about the story we get told about relationships.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about messages that you think you absorbed growing up about love and relationships and what a successful life should look like.
I think I absorbed the exact same messages as every other little girl absorbs round the world, which is you will get married, you will have babies, and you will live happily ever after. And that is what you do. Even though I've been single now for 8.5 years, I mean, I've, not wishing to bore anyone with my relationship history, but I've had many boyfriends over the years since I was in my teens. I always assumed that I would get married and have kids. But what is important to add, that I didn't assume that because I'd necessarily sat down and gone, do I want a husband? Do I want babies? Is this what I want my life to look like? It's just in our DNA, because the minute we pop out of the womb, we are fed these messages by everyone, not just our parents, but TV, movies, like media, family, friends, relatives. Everybody is telling us this is what you will do. And I have to add that as a little girl, I think it's much more, that message is sold much more to little girls than little boys. It's like, this is what you're aspiring, this is what you're meant to aspire to as a little girl. You're looking for your prince. And yeah, so we have been sold a fairy tale.
Speaking of princes and fairy tales, I'd love to talk to you a little bit about Disney, because
so much
I have been reflecting on this, because the Disney my children are getting is a very different set of Disney films now. You've got like Frozen with the two sisters that are, fiercely loyal, and it's their story. It's not about the prince. I mean, there are princes involved, but it's not the same as what I had, which is The Little Mermaid, where it's like, I'm going to give up my voice in order to have legs so that I can go and find my prince that I've seen once in the sea. It's like when you look back and you think that was the narrative, and it sucks you in because the emotional pull of Disney and the songs and everything. I've been reflecting on this, and partly because I've got little girls myself, and I'm thinking, whoa, that's quite a narrative. Is this something you've thought about?
It is something I've thought about, and it's something I've talked about. I mean, not in huge amounts of detail, but yes, when I think back to all of those kinds of stories when I was, and I'm older than you, significantly older than you, I'm 50. But when I think back to all of the books that, bedtime stories, I mean, for example, I remember one of my favorite books was a Princess Diana book. It was about the wedding of Charles and Diana. And so
Oh.
I think I was 5 when they got married. And I remember flicking through the pages and just, there were loads of pictures of her and, in the wedding dress and and all of that. And, I think about like all of those stories, they all culminated in the girl, the woman being rescued by the man coming to save her. So I think what has happened is that subsequently, as little girls and young women grow up, we think that we need to be saved by somebody by a man in order to be successful. And one thing that I feel so passionately about, because I know that, we all have a very, very different definition of success, right? But I think the very traditional one would be, you meet someone, you get engaged, you get married, you have kids, you buy the house, you get the dog, you have the job, la, 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 la. That is what is that's the script, right? But to me, I think an interesting question is like, what does success look like? Well, for me personally, success is I'm happy in my own skin. Success is I have peace in my life. I feel joyful every day. I feel good more than I don't feel good. And the truth is that marriage and kids does not guarantee any of that. So, yeah.
Well, talking about those stories, the ones you just described, they all end at the wedding day.
Right.
And it's like, I've been married 18 years.
Have you?
Yeah. Well, coming up in July.
I didn't know it was 18. My gosh.
Yeah.
That's
We married
amazing.
very, very young.
Wow.
And it was something that was, it really struck me when we got married, because like you say, marriage doesn't equal happiness. It's like, and then there's, even, bringing the money side in slightly now, is the cost of a wedding is obscene these days. And I'm so glad I got married before Pinterest was a thing, because it was just like, you just pick a colour and off you go. Still very expensive, but it's so much money. But one thing we learnt early on was that so much goes into a wedding day, but so little goes into after the wedding day.
Totally.
And caring for the couple, figuring out your differences and all that sort of thing. So even what you're describing with these stories, it just makes me think, every Disney movie, it's like, and they lived happily ever after.
Yeah.
How many people actually do? How many people actually instantly walk off into the sunset and they never have a problem ever again? So I totally agree with you that plus that does not equal a happy life. And that's one of the things I love about your work, is your focus. It's not anti-relationship, it's pro enjoying and flourishing in life. Wherever you're at. And I think that's a really powerful message, which is one of the reasons I was so excited to talk to you.
Thanks, I appreciate that. And you know what, I have to say, I'm so pleased that is what you get from me.
Oh, 100%.
Because I sometimes worry that people think I'm this man hater, which I'm not at all. I love men. I always have loved men. This, partly been my downfall many, many times. Let's not even go there. But, I think some people, I worry that sometimes people think that is my message. But if anyone who knows me and knows the podcast and knows me well from following me for a while or listening for a while, knows that I'm absolutely not anti-relationships. But what I am anti is settling for the wrong relationship in order to unsingle yourself. Gosh. Because you have felt the pressure that society still to this day puts on women particularly.
Do you think that we're getting better at telling different stories to young women and young girls?
It's such a tricky question, because I think through my lens, which is I talk to single women all the time. I have a podcast. I have, a community on Instagram who not all of them absolutely love being single yet, but many of them do. So through that lens of, if I'm wearing that particular pair of glasses, then absolutely I do feel like there is a different narrative starting to kind of emerge. But on the other hand, I sometimes feel like we're in exactly the same frickin' situation as we ever were. You only have to look at some of the comments that I get on Instagram, and you're like, oh my God, like literally people have sort of accused me of being, the downfall of the human race because I don't have kids. And I still get comments about cat lady. Have a cat. obsessed with him, love of my goddamn
Love a
life,
cat.
don't need another man. You know, it's incredible to see how many people still say things like, "Phew, yeah, you might be kidding yourself, love, but you're not kidding anyone else. And, you know, come on, stop pretending that you're happy." Obviously, you know, it's just these are the same old stories and assumptions and tropes about single women are very much still alive and kicking. And also, another thing that I've noticed, and I say even I, and the reason I say even I, because obviously my friends and family know what I do. So you'd think if anyone's friends and family was going to believe that I was actually truly happily single, it would be them. But I still see that doubt in people's eyes. It's like, I can see she's, you know, yeah, she might be saying that she's happily single, but I just don't quite believe her. There's always that doubt. It's as if when you say you're happily single, essentially it's as if you're lying, which is fucking infuriating. Excuse my French, listeners.
No,
and
I
watchers.
find this really interesting and
Same.
very helpful because I haven't been single for a very long time. I have single friends and I want to be a good friend to those friends. And I don't want to create a world where it's like, well, separate, or like, I don't understand you, or I don't want to have that look in my eyes as in, are you all right? So I find this really helpful to understand. And I don't know if this is too far of a question, but I feel like you can correct me if it's wrong. And this is good then, because this is what we're trying to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
So tell me if this is a really awful thing to ask, but
Okay.
I would love to know, for somebody who is single now, does happiness come through? Do you have to get to a point where you decide this may never happen, I may never be in a relationship? Or do you see it as, is it a sort of, right now I'm working on myself and I'm going to be, whatever phase I'm in, whatever situation I'm in, I am choosing to live a full and joyful life? Is there a sort of, what's the mental process? And please correct me and tell me to shut up if that's a terrible thing to ask.
One thing I will say to that is that the implication in that question is that I'm not single because I want to be.
Okay, go on, tell me.
And that is often the implication when a lot of people ask those kinds of questions, because actually, and I think this is one thing that single women can get incredibly frustrated about.
Yeah.
The truth is that pretty much every single woman I know, if she really wanted someone,
Right.
she could have someone, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, you might have to lower your standards massively, but put it this way, it's not as if I wanted to be with someone, I think I probably could be. My truth is that I love being single so much that, to me, unsingling myself would feel like a massive sacrifice, because actually what the kind of irony, crazy thing is that getting into a relationship scares the absolute crap out of me, because I know everything I'd have to give up in order to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
So I think people normally assume that the sacrifice is, oh, but you're single, so you're lacking this, that, and the other. But people never think about it from the other side of the coin, which is, actually, I don't know if I want a relationship, because I would find it incredibly hard to no longer be single.
Yeah.
Because that, and this is, I mean, sorry, I'm going off on all kinds of tangents, but one thing that so many people, it never occurs to, and because we don't really talk about this, it's just not a conversation that comes up around single women, is the fact that there are so many wonderful benefits and advantages to not having a relationship. And the longer I'm single, the less I think I'm going to get into another relationship. That said, there is a part of me, the part of me that's had boyfriends since I was freaking 14 years old. That part of me thinks, I'm sure I'll probably have another boyfriend at some point, because I've always had, you know, I've had many boyfriends over the years. But yeah, coming back to that other part of me, I genuinely wonder whether I'll be single forever. Not in a kind of I'm resigning myself to it, but in a, I think I might choose it forever and ever and ever.
Yes, yeah.
Because I cannot imagine who it would be that would come into my life that I'd go, yeah, do you know what? I'm going to give it a go. I can't fathom
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And again, I love men.
Yeah.
And I've had lovely relationships and I love love.
Mm-hmm.
But I love my single life even more. I also know the realities of many relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And also, and I think this is so key, and I think this is what a lot of single women, particularly perhaps older single women, are realizing, is that I feel like I'm the best version of myself when I'm alone. And I don't know why that is, but I feel like every time I've been single in my kind of later half of my life, I have been so much better in so many ways, not least because when I'm in a relationship, my life becomes about that person.
Right.
My life starts because I start to center the man,
Right.
and the relationship becomes the most important thing. And all of my dreams and goals and aspirations go flying out the fucking window. And I'm like, what the hell? Whereas when I'm single, I'm single-minded, as it were, no pun intended. And I'm really intentional about the way that I live and what I want and where I'm headed in a way that just seems to completely dissolve when I'm with a guy.